A tourist in a dinosaur costume growled at the Queen's Guardsman, certain he could break the soldier's composure. But the Guardsman's subtle, calculated response turned the tourist's stunt into pure humiliation, leaving the crowd in awe. What happened next became legendary. But before we dive into this incredible story, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell. We share the untold stories, secrets, and traditions of the British Guards every day. And trust me, you don't want to miss what's coming next. It was a typical day at Buckingham Palace. The Guardsman, a stoic man in his early 30s, stood motionless at his post. His bearskin hat gleamed in the midday sun, his crimson uniform was impeccably pressed, and his rifle rested on his shoulder, the embodiment of British tradition and discipline. Tourists milled around him, snapping pictures and recording videos, their chatter filling the air. Suddenly, the crowd parted as a peculiar figure emerged. It was a tourist in a full-body dinosaur costume, an inflatable T-Rex, complete with comically tiny arms and a wide, toothy grin painted on its plastic face. The dinosaur waddled into the clearing, drawing gasps and laughter from the spectators. Inside the costume was Carl, an American tourist in his late 20s, with a penchant for making a scene. He had a camera strapped to his chest and a wireless microphone clipped to the costume's interior. His plan was simple: get a guardsman to react, post the video online, and rake in the likes. Carl stopped in front of the guardsman, his inflatable tail swaying behind him. The guardsman remained unmoving, his face an unyielding mask of professionalism. Carl leaned forward, his oversized dinosaur head nearly bumping into the guardsman's pristine uniform. "Grrr, I'm a dinosaur," Carl growled theatrically, his voice muffled but audible enough to send the crowd into hysterics. He stomped his inflatable feet and waved his tiny arms, his every move a ridiculous spectacle. The guardsman didn't flinch. Carl upped the ante. "Come on, man. Give me a smile, a blink, anything." He leaned in closer, his inflatable snout just inches from the guardsman's face. The tension grew as the crowd whispered excitedly. Surely, this would be the moment the guardsman broke character. But he didn't. Frustrated by the guardsman's unshakable composure, Carl decided to take things up a notch. He stomped in exaggerated circles around the guardsman, his inflatable costume squeaking with every step. "Ladies and gentlemen," Carl called out to the growing crowd, spinning dramatically. "Today, you'll witness the impossible, making the Queen's Guard react. Let's hear it for the T-Rex challenge." The crowd, now a mix of laughter and curiosity, cheered him on. Some pulled out their phones to record the escalating spectacle. Carl, emboldened by the attention, raised his stubby inflatable arms and let out another theatrical roar. The guardsman remained still as a statue, his eyes fixed straight ahead, his stoic demeanor an impenetrable wall against Carl's antics. Unfazed, Carl tried a new tactic. "All right, big guy, you asked for this." He waddled behind the guardsman and attempted a clumsy inflatable version of the robot dance. His movements were as absurd as they were uncoordinated, and the crowd erupted in laughter. But the guardsman still didn't react. Carl wasn't about to give up. He shuffled back to the front and pulled out his microphone. "All right, folks, here's the plan. If I can't make him move, maybe I can make him talk." He leaned in close to the guardsman's face and whispered loudly enough for everyone to hear. "What's your favorite dinosaur? Come on, you've got one, right? Triceratops? Stegosaurus?" The guardsman, as expected, remained silent. His expression didn't flicker, but the faintest twitch of his lips might have gone unnoticed by the crowd. The audience was now fully invested, some shouting suggestions at Carl, others placing bets on whether the guardsman would crack. The tension in the air was palpable, and then Carl had his most audacious idea yet. He pointed dramatically at the guardsman and announced, "If you don't react, I'll make you part of my TikTok dance." The crowd roared in approval as Carl began a ridiculous, choreographed routine, his inflatable dinosaur tail swinging dangerously close to the guardsman's polished boots. As Carl flailed around in his dinosaur costume, a soft but deliberate sound cut through the commotion, the rhythmic clop of horse hooves. From the corner of the square, one of the mounted guards approached, his steed trotting with regal precision. The crowd turned, their attention momentarily diverted. Carl, mid-dance, froze when he noticed the horse. Its enormous stature made his inflatable antics look even more absurd. The rider, another guardsman in full ceremonial uniform, exuded the same stoic professionalism as his grounded counterpart. The mounted guardsman guided his horse to stand directly behind Carl, its imposing presence overshadowing the inflatable dinosaur. The crowd erupted into muffled giggles and whispers, sensing that something spectacular was about to happen. Carl, oblivious to the horse looming behind him, turned back to his audience. "You see, folks, nothing can break this guy, but maybe he'll react if—" The horse let out a thunderous, perfectly timed whinny that echoed through the square. Carl jumped in shock, his inflatable tail whipping wildly as he stumbled forward. The crowd burst into laughter, some doubling over as they captured the moment on their phones. Carl spun around, his face red with embarrassment, to see the horse calmly chewing its bit, as if mocking him with its serene demeanor. Trying to recover his pride, Carl raised a hand in mock surrender. "All right, you got me. The Queen's Guard is tougher than a T-Rex." The guardsman on horseback offered no acknowledgement, but the grounded guardsman finally moved. Just the slightest shift in his stance to avoid Carl's tail as it flailed dangerously close to his boots. The crowd gasped, realizing they had just witnessed the rarest of occurrences. The guardsman had acknowledged his surroundings. Carl, determined not to lose face, turned back to his audience. "Well, I guess there's no breaking these guys, but don't forget to like and subscribe." Before he could finish, the mounted guardsman gave a subtle signal, and his horse took a single step forward, gently nudging Carl with its muzzle. The dinosaur costume wobbled precariously, and Carl tripped over his own tail, landing flat on the ground. The crowd exploded in laughter. Phones pointed at Carl as he flailed on the pavement, trying to get back on his feet. As Carl struggled to right himself, the grounded guardsman finally broke the silence. Without turning his head, he muttered just loud enough for those nearby to hear, "The T-Rex went extinct for a reason." The crowd roared with applause, cheering the unexpected comeback. Carl, still sprawled on the ground, tried to laugh it off, but his pride was clearly bruised. A small child in the crowd piped up, "Mom, I think the guardsman won." The innocent remark sent everyone into fits of laughter again. Carl scrambled to his feet, his dinosaur costume deflated in more ways than one. All right, he said, waving to the crowd. "You win this time, Britain." The guardsman adjusted his rifle slightly, his face as impassive as ever. The mounted guardsman turned his horse gracefully, guiding it away from the scene. The crowd, still buzzing with excitement, began to disperse, many posting their videos online with captions like, "The T-Rex versus the Guard, Guess Who Won?" and "Stoic Guardsman Takes Down Inflatable Dino." As Carl waddled away, his dinosaur costume sagging with every step, the guardsman stood tall, his posture unwavering. He didn't need to move or speak to prove his point. The Queen's Guard always wins, without ever breaking character. And somewhere in the depths of his mind, the guardsman thought with a hint of dry humor, "Another day, another dinosaur." If you enjoyed this story, leave a like and let us know in the comments which guard tradition you'd like us to cover next. See you in the next video.